Hello Internet, this is J Dunlap MTG. This is another video with me playing standard Tron basically, red-green ramp. This is a match I played against an Aristocrats deck. So this is a pretty decent opening hand, and as I've already stated, I was experimenting this past week with not mulliganing. And let's see if that pays off. I really wanted to know how this deck plays without mulligans because it's a big factor in consistency. I did get my second land drop though, so I was able to play my mana Dork and Pass. And now I have enough mana to do all my ramp. Looks like I can actually start exploding, if you will. Reference to explosive vegetation, which I am casting right now. However, I noticed very quickly my opponent is playing Aristocrats because my opponent played 2 Zulaport Cutthroats to start off the game, and that's kind of a bad start for me. So I see now that he's got this little combo going where he extorts 2 Sidisi's Faithful and then bounces whatever I've got going on. That really hurts my ramp because I've got some high-cost cards in hand, you know, the cards that I actually want to cast. And I can't cast them because I keep having to either ramp or play creatures, and then he keeps bouncing my creatures. And that's basically the story of game 1 here. There's another Sidisi's Faithful, getting those triggers on the Cutthroats, attacking for teensy bits, but it all adds up. Getting more ramp because I'm at 6 lands and I really need to be at 7 so I can cast things. This turn he does some shenanigans, attacks me. And now he actually has his sack outlet. So I'm dead. So for sideboarding, I want my Jedi offshoots so I can get the life gain going on. And then Dragon Lord of Tarka is going out, as is Hedron Archive, because I simply, as usual, don't have time to cast that against quick decks. Again, not going to mulligan this, and that's okay because I've got a Jedi offshoot and enough land in hand to gain a bunch of life. It'll be great that I can cast Map the Waste next turn and immediately bolster onto Hangerback Walker. That's always a great turn 3. He's already got his Cutthroat out, and that's going to hurt a little bit. Make that 2 Cutthroats. Sack Blighted Woodland, get some more lands in play, get some more life gain going. I might as well attack now to pressure his life total. And it turns out to be a good thing that I attacked because they bounce my Hangerback Walker. Unfortunately, they don't actually have removal, which means I can keep playing Hangerback Walker as much as it suits me. This turn, though, I need to get some ramp going. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to play Hangerback Walker anyway. At the very least, I think this player is very conservative, so having a Hangerback Walker on the board will keep them from being too aggressive with attacks. And they bounced Hangerback Walker again. So this game appears to be shaping up the same way that the previous one did, except that I've had a blocker in the form of Jedi Offshoot. I've been gaining a lot of life, and I actually am able to cast Ulamog. Now my concern here is I don't want my opponent to be able to cast Nantuko Husk, because they're set up with 2 Cutthroats, and things can get really nasty really quick when you have 2 Cutthroats and an Nantuko Husk, as game 1 showed. So when I cast Ulamog, I immediately obliterate their black source, and then target a dual land that doesn't have black just because it's there. Because who likes dual lands? Not Ulamog. As you can see, they actually tried to cast Nantuko Husk and realized I'd obliterated their black source. This turn I might as well just open up with a huge Hangerback Walker because that's what he's for. So you can see this game's pretty much over. They don't have a black source. They concede pretty quickly. I did actually mulligan this opening hand. I know my goal was to not mulligan, but I had an Ugin in hand, a bunch of lands, and a Nissa's Pilgrimage, which as I've already said in a previous video, you don't necessarily want to cast first. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you do cast it first, but you'd prefer not to have to. And ultimately, this hand has no plays until turn 3, and by that point I need to be gaining life off of Jedi Offshoot. So I do mulligan this hand. However, I can't mulligan past 6. In fact, next week when I mulligan, it's only going to be down to 6 if I do mulligan. So I do have to keep this hand because I don't want a chance getting a bad hand and then not drawing into a win con. And this hand has all 3 win cons. The scry's good though. That's a land. That means I can get a good turn 2 hanger back and start ramping. A turn 3 Nantuko Husk with nothing else on board is a little bit encouraging that maybe they don't have anything. The collected company basically whiffed. I don't think he realizes what I'm about to do here, but I do block with Hangerback Walker and Pump. And then we trade off and I get 2 tokens. Another collected company. A Sidisi's Faithful, which is basically another whiff. He chooses not to exploit. For what reason, I'm not quite sure. I'm going to keep Jace down by attacking with the one Thopter that's not being affected by his +1. There's another Coco, and that one actually does not whiff. Now he's got half of his sack engine back. So I need to hope that he doesn't get the rest of it. I still can't cast anything, so I'm just going to use the mana ramp and leave my options open just in case I want to cast Ulamog rather than Ugin next turn. As it looks, I think Ugin's the best play here, but let's see what happens. Nantuko Husk is not what I was hoping to see. That kind of throws a monkey wrench into my plans. I wanted to play Ugin and wipe the board, but if I do that, I'll give my opponent incentive to sack everything on the board and take a bunch of my life and get a bunch of scry triggers. So I'd rather not incentivize that mass sacking. What I'd rather do is cast Ulamog first, since I've got the mana, oddly enough, to cast Ulamog, and take out their sack engine entirely. Take out the Cutthroat, take out Nantuko Husk. And I don't think he intends to sack everything to Nantuko Husk just because I did that. I think he'd rather have some blockers available to keep himself from dying from Ulamog. Which is great, because next turn Ugin lands, I wipe his board, game over. So he did minus on one of the morphs, and I had a brain fart and attacked with a morph into Sidisi's Faithful, but the 2 Thopters did take his life total down a little bit. I'm pressuring his life total because I know that Jace is about to go down from the Ugin board wipe. You see that he actually tries to kill my Ulamog. Unfortunately, he's indestructible. As you can see, the moment he sees Ugin hit the board, then game's pretty much over. And that's the matchup against Aristocrats. I don't know whether it would have gone differently if he had gotten a better turns 1 through 3 on Game 3, but as things turned out, I'm pretty sure I just played everything correctly.